Aloha everybody, welcome to BearsWave.com podcast. It's April 13th, coming to you from Bears 25th floor surf shack, overlooking Waikiki Beach. It's Aloha Friday, we're going to have another Pauhana time. We have one of the worst surfers in the world with us today, Kelvin Lam. Aloha Kelvin.
Aloha guys.
And so wax up your surfboards you guys, let's get ready to paddle into another great podcast. So yeah, we are pretty stoked today.
Yeah.
We got Kelvin Lam here.
Haven't seen you in a long time, Kelvin.
I know. Yeah, 2009, I moved up to the mainland.
Yeah, he was such a bad surfer that he is really, we will get into that later, but he really is.
Where'd you move to? Where'd you go?
I moved over, I originally moved over into San Francisco, and then...
and you lived here, I
was born and raised here,
okay.
yeah, and then I moved out of San Francisco, living in Redwood City now.
Why were you over there in San Francisco? Did you go to work?
I got done at UH, and then and I was up for a little adventure.
Yeah, his probation officer let him out of Hawaii too.
we agreed we weren't going to talk about that.
Oh, okay.
That's
well, we'll get more into that I think a little bit. First, we got a commercial, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we're excited today. We got a commercial. We got to do first, right? Onnit.com, ONNIT.com is our sponsor. They have a product, two or three products actually that I use. The first one I started to use was Alpha Brain, and Shane, you're the one that got me going on it and introduced me to it. So what experience have you had with Alpha Brain?
I love Alpha Brain. I take it as much as I need. If I have too much, I won't take it. But yeah, it really works out really well for thinking really clearly, and also you get rid of headaches. That's what I've experienced.
Really?
I got rid of my headaches.
Yeah, wow. Well,
yeah.
I know for me, I take one every morning because I'm a vitamin person. I take a lot of vitamins. Do you take vitamins, Kelvin?
I try to make sure I stay consistent on that. I forget, But yeah, I remember my dad would always tell me to take vitamins and stuff. I really should stay more consistent on that. But,
yeah, I do. I've been religious about it for like 20 years now. So
no wonder.
See that baggie right there?
Yeah.
That's Shane's fix for the day.
Oh my gosh.
Because we usually have breakfast every morning at 6. So mine's twice that much. He doesn't need all the.
I don't
stuff
always
all guys
take it
do.
because if I have too much, I feel
maybe
like
that explains why I can't paddle so well.
No, I don't know. I think that's probably DNA. Yeah. So I've taken vitamins forever, but I've actually never taken vitamins specifically for your brain. So Shane's opening up right now and taking his daily vitamins.
Take some fish oil.
Yeah.
This fish oil is the best. This is the one I always take most
It
of
helps
the
for
time.
your knees and your joints and everything like that. No, so I do that, and then Shane told me, hey, Joe Rogan's been advertising this thing called on Onnit.com called Alpha Brain. Shane introduced me to the product. I've been taking vitamins all my life, but never really took vitamins specifically for my brain, and anyone who knew me or knows me knows I need all the help I can get.
Yeah.
So when it comes to my brain. But Shane, you're the one that first introduced me to Onnit.com and Alpha Brain, and how did you find it?
When I first took Alpha Brain, I didn't really think about it too much because I didn't want it to be a placebo effect. Yeah, I took it, and like a week later, or not a week, probably like 3 days, I started noticing it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, I was like, what the heck? I'm thinking, like, there's something, you start thinking clear, and you start realizing.
Is that like that movie Limitless?
No, it's not like
not.
that. It's not going to make you smarter.
Okay.
It's just going to give you more.
It just gives what your brain needs to function correctly. All the vitamins it needs, the correct vitamins. So,
right.
Got it.
So it's not going to give you. It's not going to make you smarter. But what it does do is it helps you. It's just like your brain is craving vitamins.
Right.
and just like your body needs fuel, your mind does too. But what I found too, the other thing to say is that if you take it in the afternoon, like 4 or 5 hours before you're going to go to sleep, 6 hours before you're going to go to sleep, you actually go into a deeper alpha state when you sleep.
Wow.
And so what happened to me is...
I don't think I even know what an alpha state is.
Yeah, right. I mean, what happened to me is I found myself sleeping through the night, and then I found myself extending my sleep by about a half hour to 45 minutes more sleep.
Wow.
Which has got to help your brain.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
So it's been great. Really, in fact, it was kind of interesting because I took that and I thought, okay, I'll take a bottle of this and see how it works. And then when I ran out, I thought, well, I should order another one. And then I realized the difference when you stop taking it. When you feel that
is it a pill or is it a? I'll give you a packet of it. It's
It's vitamins. It's not going to give you more. It's going to give you more vitamins.
Is it a pill or is it a? It's vitamins. It's not going to give you more vitamins. Is it a pill or is it a?
It's vitamins. It's not going to give you more. It's going to give you more vitamins. It's I'll give you a packet of it. It's just vitamins. Comes in a capsule.
Oh, okay.
And then the other thing I did is I started using their sport thing, which Joe Rogan loves. He said, don't bother taking it if you're not an athlete. If you're not going to be training really hard with kettlebells or something else.
I love kettlebells.
Yeah, do you? I haven't really used those.
Oh my gosh, it's wonderful. Well, I'm sure we'll get into more of this stuff later, but I have 2 herniated
Yeah,
discs.
I saw you can't even touch your knees.
I can touch my knees. I can't touch my toes.
Okay.
But yeah, it definitely.
I noticed your nails and your
range
toes
of-
were like 4 inches long. Is that
Because I
right?
couldn't cut it. Yeah, no. But it helps with the range of motion. It makes me, it helped me through a lot of the healing process.
Really? I never thought that would probably hurt you. Well, yeah, so we're going to get Joe Rogan's kettlebell bells when they come out, right, Shane?
Yeah.
So
Those are about to come out.
Yeah, I'm stoked. And so what we're going to do is, so when I started, this is amazing. So because I've been working on my book, and I've been basically out of shape because of the having to write a book and have a full-time job. Joe Rogan, he's a great athlete, and he trains with kettlebells. He said 20 minutes with kettlebells will pretty much.
It ends up being kind of an anaerobic and an aerobic workout, or at the same time.
Yeah.
It ends up being pretty cool. I started coaching San Jose State this past August.
Yeah.
And I met with the strength coaches and everyone there, and that's where I got introduced to it for the first time. Yeah.
Oh,
It was
wow.
pretty cool. These guys, I mean, they're really into the kettlebell stuff. It basically, I guess, what they explained to me was it increases your explosiveness without all the impact on your knees and your other joints and everything.
Wow. Okay, so we're not going to go too far into that. We might come back to it. But I started using the sport. Have you ever taken anything when you were? I mean, in the past, there's been so many different products come out, and it's supposed to help your endurance or help your this when you're training. And for the most part, it's basically seems like it's just something that makes your adrenaline pump faster, and it's like more like caffeine. It does nothing for you. It just makes you feel kind of buzzed and horrible. But this sport makes sure that they have the vitamin that's like a vitamin that you take 3 days before, just before you work out. I take 2 or 3 of those before I work out, and I'm telling you, because I got so out of shape because of writing my book and working so much that I wasn't doing my training. And so normally I used to say, okay, I like to do 3 miles at a time of a beach workout. But when I'm really training hard, I try to do 7 miles a day. And that's beach and sand workout.
You're talking about running?
Well, no, it can be interval training. Right now I did some interval today, but I'm just now getting into that conditioning again. But what I found is that when I take this, I'm doing 10 miles at a time now, beach and water. Like I'll do a stand-up paddle at the Hilton and do my beach workout, just walking through the sand, maybe doing a little bit of interval for like 30 minutes of it. And now I'm doing 10 miles instead of like 3.5 or 5. Used to be my max would be like 5.
I don't think I can do 10
Yeah,
miles.
so I'd have to do 2 or 3 sets of those during the day to get my workout in. So I'm really stoked about the product.
So you really feel like gives you that extra
and
10%?
Again, it was, and
was it 110%? You feel like
200%. And the thing about it is, it's not like it's the placebo effect. Because it's just like you and I. We both had that revelation that, wait a minute, I'm having the most productive tax season I've ever had. I'm doubling my income from the year before in that same amount of time. What's the difference? And so we really can't say enough about it. And you can try this. You can go and do your own research, right, Shane?
Yeah, it's not magic. All it is good vitamins for your body that you could take in from foods. But
yeah, you can look at the
instead
ingredients.
You just take the pill, yeah.
You can look at the ingredients.
If you go to their website, you can look at all their ingredients.
Yourself.
And I checked out a lot of it. I went to Wikipedia and I found out most of these stuff would just come from, certain types of vegetables and like.
Yeah, so you can do it yourself. It just makes it more convenient. And if you go to the website, you use the Bears Wave as your coupon code, and you get a 10% discount. And then also, if you don't like it, send it back. You don't even have to send it back. Just say I didn't like it, and they'll send you your money back. But I do a little bit of research on nootropics. That's what we're talking about when it comes to the brain food.
Okay.
So it just makes perfect sense to us. We've got the technology. We're learning so much, And so we also want to thank our sponsor, SurfNewsNetwork.com.
Yes.
Gary Cooley over there. Thanks, Gary, for hooking us up. And so if you're watching this podcast and you're in China, where is the furthest place you've traveled to, Kelvin, in your journeys?
For cheerleading?
Yeah, for anything.
Oh, for anything? Actually, growing up, I was pretty lucky. My parents made it a point every Christmas to during that vacation time to take me to someplace new. So,
what's the most exotic or furthest place?
Exotic. Let's see. I've been. Well, that's tough because every place is exotic in itself. Every place is pretty unique. I go to Australia at least once a year now. my parents took me to Korea, Thailand,
And Japan is big with your sport too, right?
Japan is, oh my gosh, they are incredible there.
Okay, so let's say Japan. If you're in Japan and you want to see what we're viewing out of the bearswave.com podcast center, kind of like NBC News, only in Waikiki. You can look at the view we have right now on surfnewsnetwork.com. Just go to the webcam called Waikiki, and you can. So if you're in Japan or Australia or where all those places, Korea, all the places that you've been, and you want to see what Kelvin's looking at while we're doing the podcast, you can just go to surfnewsnetwork.com and look up the Waikiki podcast. So that is enough commercials.
Yes.
Okay, now let's get down to why we're really here.
All right.
Okay? We're here to introduce the worst surfer. One of the worst surfers I have. I mean, I've seen 3-year-olds surf better than Kelvin Lam, and so we thought it'd be really cool to bring one of the worst surfers in the world. Actually, you're a good surfer. You're just a really bad paddler. Why? What do you think that is?
I don't know. maybe it's my technique. Maybe my hands are making the wrong shape or something.
It's so funny.
Like almost like I'm holding a paddle backwards.
Yeah, I mean, you're really famous for being one of the worst surfers in the world, but also you're kind of well known as a world champion stunt cheerleader and national champion stunt cheerleader. That's the other. People may not know that, but they know him as one of the worst paddlers in the world. But they may not know. Yeah, but they may not know that we have Kelvin Lam here. What are all these titles?
Well, let's see. I won my first title in 2004. I went to HBU at that time, actually. Man, I actually traveled right out of high school. I went to Sac State first. I've been around 7 different schools. And
you got bad grades that kicked you out?
Sort of.
No.
If bad grades and out-of-state tuition kind of correlate, I don't know.
Okay.
No, I didn't get bad grades. I would never do that. At least not try to on purpose. But I went to HPU after that semester, actually, because out-of-state tuition did get kind of tough, and then so my parents, I wanted to make sure I was helping them out.
In Sacramento State, I mean, there's no beach there.
There's no beach. There's apparently there's a lot of hornets because that's their mascot.
Oh, it is, okay.
I don't know, but yeah. So HPU 2004, I won my first national title. I was still a freshman in college then.
Wow.
And then
how many years were you a freshman? No, I mean, I was saying wow that you won your national title. I'm just guessing.
Well, I guess I was technically a freshman for 2 years.
Oh my God, that's much better. I was like for 4 years.
No, well, because
this is
I don't
a
think
genius.
my credits transferred.
And you didn't take Alpha Brain, right?
I guess so.
Oh my God.
Alpha Brain. Alpha. What does that even mean?
He's the alpha male of this group.
No,
right
I don't. But yeah. So and then I was there for 1 semester, and then I transferred over to the University of Hawaii.
Yeah.
And I stayed there for 5 years. Got my degree there in international business marketing. And then my last year there in 2009 is when I won National Partner Stunt Championship title.
With partner who?
Her name is Kristen Kolkowski.
Kristen? Who's Kolkowski?
Kolkowski, yeah. It used to be Heath, and then she got married when she was 18. And yeah.
Okay,
Kolkowski.
well, congratulations, Kristen.
Yeah, she's doing wonderful now. She's living up in Seattle, the Seattle area. She's a nutritionist. She's trying to promote her thing now. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Nutritionist. What's her website? Do you know?
I think it's gymnastcare.com or something like that. I got to look it up. It's in my emails. But and then after 2009, I moved up to California after that whole after Kristen and I won, and then I tried out to be on Team USA, the U.S. national team.
Oh, so that's totally different than University of Hawaii.
That's completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, we represent the country at the World Championship, and I was on that team the past 2 years. This year is going into my 3rd year on that team. We've won so far. Let's keep our fingers crossed. We've won the the World Championship title 3 years in a row, and then we're going on to our 4th year.
And you also won a pairs title. Was that the one you stayed with Kristen?
Yeah, that was in 2009.
Yeah, that was just the two of you.
That's correct.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
That's probably my favorite one.
Yeah, well, we're going to describe a couple of the videos later to you about that. But let's talk about how did you, first of all, how do we know each other? And then we'll talk about how you got started.
Yeah, actually, we know each other from a guy named Jeff Davis. actually.
Yeah.
Do you remember Jeff?
Keep cluing me in.
Okay,
He's just
so
one of the
Jeff,
cheerleaders?
He was one of the cheerleaders.
Yes.
He was down on the beach one day.
Yeah.
He ran into.
Oh, I remember that moment. Yeah.
And then he brought you. We were just playing around on the beach, throwing some
That's
stuff.
right.
And he brought you over to us, and that's how we got introduced.
You guys are doing unbelievable stuff. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, glad you like it.
No, I mean I hate to be so blunt, but I mean, what you guys did at U of H compared to what else I see is unbelievable. What you guys are doing was amazing.
Well, and they're always trying to get better and everything like that. So the stuff they're doing now is even more incredible.
I saw stuff. I mean, couldn't even believe it was happening. I mean, it was. I got to tell you, I had the SMU team was down here.
Southern Methodist.
Yeah, I hate to be so, but I saw what they were doing, and I could have coached them. As little as I know, all that I've learned from you about tandem surfing and stunts since then, I could see why stunts weren't working. In other words, you guys are so far in advance.
Well, Mike
Mike
Baker is the head coach over at University of Hawaii, and he actually has a lot to do with that.
Yeah.
He's too humble to admit that that he pioneered this movement with the stunning technique and everything. But he'll just tell people that he recognized it in all the best stunners, but really, he deserves all the credit for recognizing it, for developing the style, the movement. In terms of, when I say movement, I mean more of like a musical movement, or like like a generation type of thing.
What do you mean generation type of thing?
Well, because with stunting, there's like everything else, it evolves through time.
Right.
So when cavemen first, when the Flintstones were trying to move
Are you talking about me?
I'm talking about actual Flintstones.
Oh, before me. Okay.
But it could be you, I guess. I don't know.
How old are the Flintstones, that cartoon?
I don't even know. But but you know how the Flintstones, they would pedal their feet, and then eventually they're like, well, I wonder if we can make a way to get some gears turning and get some pistons, and then we got the car. Of course, that's not the actual history of it. We all know we got horses and carriages before all that stuff.
No.
But
You think so?
Possibly. That's just what I hear.
I just thought.
have a pet bunny. My pet bunny told me that.
All the way up to the Jetsons.
Exactly. So just like those things, stunting evolves. So as the stunts get more difficult, your body alignment changes and you evolve with it to make the stunts.
I can tell when I've lifted women that are trained by someone like you or by Mike, they know to pull their belly button to their backbone. They know how to pull up. They know how to give me the best chance of being a good partner for them. But just before we go any further, Kelvin, we met.
Yeah,
on the
we
beach.
met there on the beach, and then
You guys were doing these incredible lifts.
Yeah. Well, we were doing some lifts and stuff. We were doing some
Incredible lifts.
and then Bear asked me to work with him on some tandem lifts to see if we could apply some of the different concepts from cheerleading into those lifts.
Right, and the thing is, at that time, that was the first world title. When I developed the International Tandem Surfing Association, we were hosting our first world title for that association here in Waikiki.
What year was that?
That was 2006.
That was 2000.
And
that's right.
I had been surfing with someone for quite a while, and she was a great tandem girl, and she even went on to win a couple world titles. But right 6 weeks before the world title, I had taught a guy to tandem surf, and they started dating, and next thing you know, they're a couple, so she wanted to compete with him. And so all of a sudden I had a new partner that we needed to develop real fast, and that was Shannon O'Neill.
That's right, yeah, I do remember that.
And here she's like this poor innocent girl, she just wanted to go out and have fun, and next thing you know, she's with this aggro guy that's 6 weeks before the world title, and we're trying to get ready. Yeah. And that's when you started working with us, like 2 or 3 times a week.
She actually learned real fast.
Yeah, she was amazing. She was very dedicated and had to put up with me.
Well, she had to put up with everyone, I guess.
Yeah, but you were amazing. I learned so much from you and so much from Mike. And I think in a lot of ways it transformed tandem surfing. And at that time, this is, I think, a lesson in life. At that time, I think at that time I had started like 16 teams here in Waikiki, and I continued to develop a lot of new teams. And those teams had a coach, and that coach was me. And I had a lot to learn. But at that time, I think I was the oldest competitor in tandem surfing.
Which is really impressive in itself.
Well, thanks. But what I meant by that is of all the other tandem teams that had been surfing together, had been tandems, and I had been tandem surfing a long time, but no one else, regardless of age or how many years they had been training, had a coach. Here I'm one of the most experienced tandem surfers in the world, and when you get that good at something, you realize how much you don't know, and you recognize an expert when you see him. And I think it says a lot about life, is no matter how much you know, you can always have a mentor. Someone. And you were, how old were you?
Oh, at the time, 2006, let's see. 21. I think I was 21 at the time, yeah.
Yeah, and you were so
set. 21?
You were, well, yeah. I mean, it blows my mind because you were so...
Well, I'm 26 now.
Such a powerful person, such a humble person, so knowledgeable and so skilled.
Well, I actually can take very little credit for what I knew, because I was pretty much just spouting off stuff that Mike would say to me.
Yeah, right. That's what we do.
And kind of hoping that it would apply.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because, there's a point when you have a mentor and they're a teacher, and then there's a point when that teacher more than teaches, it's more like it's imparted to you, and then there comes that point where it's more than it's just imparted; it's infused. There's a part where you're looking and you look. And you're listening and you're learning and you're trying to understand, and then you go through the motions of what they're telling you to do, and you find out, oh, I didn't do that, and that's why I fell. And I'm not talking just about surfing or sports, but just real life. You try something and it fails, and then you actually learn, and it's kind of imparted to you. But then there's that certain people like you and like Coach Mike that it seems like they just infuse it into you. There's such a belief that they have in what they're doing that they just there's not just a here's how you do it, and then watching you do it, there's almost like a push into a wave.
Yeah, that's kind of an indescribable thing. That's, I feel like you just did a really incredible job at describing it. Because I don't think I could have described it that well. But Mike is someone real special to me. And I feel like he's real special to a bunch of people. Yeah. And, I think a lot of it, I just had this conversation with him yesterday, or 2 days ago actually, and I think a lot of it comes from what we were talking about is the point where it no longer becomes about you, and it becomes about letting other people shine, and going from selfishness to selflessness. And it's not. I'm not saying that people mean to be selfish on purpose, but that's just kind of human nature.
Mm-hmm.
We're all born that way. We everything we do, it's okay. Well, I need to eat because I'm hungry. If I don't eat, I'm gonna die. It's one of those
for sure
things. And going from that to going from that kind of natural instinct in okay, I want the attention. I want to do these cool tricks because I want attention. To life is moving on. There's a cycle here, and kind of like a tree grows. The oldest part of the tree is the trunk and the roots. But then what people look at are the leaves and the flowers. Those are the new things that just popped up.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like that, letting the new people that are coming in shine and have them have their time in the limelight.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that's really what people. When Mike works with people, he can make people feel that he wants them. They can feel that he wants them to succeed, that he wants them to flourish, and he wants them to shine. So they take what he says and they push forward really fast.
Perfect illustration.
That's cool, man. Because it's so important to have a good teacher. It really is when you're learning anything.
What I learned was there's a difference between a teacher and a mentor.
Right. Tell us about that.
Well, a teacher, I mean, anybody can teach, I guess. I could teach. I could tell you how to do things.
Right.
But telling somebody how to do things and then getting them to actually realize what they're doing, get them to actually do it and succeed, and have them be able to pass on the knowledge. That's
what I love. Is because like now, I mean, I started those 16 teams, but now those teams have started teams and have coached them, and they've kind of passed that on. There was kind of like felt like I was giving like a major birthing pains in 06, trying to get new teams going. But now there's like a whole generation. There's children and grandchildren. My mentor in that way was Steve and Barry Bainey. And Steve Bainey, a lot more than just, here's how you do stunts. I followed him and who he was as a person, too. And I just remember when I was a young lion, they said, let's not have a contest. Let's just have an exhibition. I go, no, I've been training so hard. We've got to compete. And I was all about winning. And winning, competition to me now, I look back, it just seems kind of almost silly to me. I know it seems funny to say, but it's just, why do I want to beat someone at something? You know, why do I want to lose? Why, you know, I don't like losing to anybody. But I don't like beating them either. And about 2 years, and I know there's a place for competition and it's healthy, but there comes a point where you're like, I would rather, and you know, I'm not saying there shouldn't be competition, but there comes a time of mastery when you really don't feel a need to prove yourself to yourself or to anybody else, and then you feel like you can start imparting that to other people. Master Stephen Hayes, my ninja sensei, same thing.
Yeah.
But at the age of 21, that's what you were to me. It was amazing. You were more than just a teacher. There was a certain quality about you, a centeredness about you that really, whenever I was around you, I felt humbled. I felt I can learn a lot more about other than just, you know, how to lift a girl on a surfboard.
Well, that's nice of you. I mean, I feel like I just kind of had fun helping people get better.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was kind of a whatever it takes to get them better.
Okay, well, let's talk about that for a second, but about what it takes to be a world champion. Can you show us one of your videos? Describe how they can see it on YouTube.
Well,
and then we're just going to watch a little, what is it, a couple minutes?
Yeah, each routine in cheerleading is about, 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, that's perfect. YouTube stuff. So this video is
let's pull up a different video here. This is the world championship title here.
Yeah, I don't mind looking at that.
But then, but the cool one,
Let's watch the cool one. And I feel bad for everybody that doesn't get to see this, so you got to look it up on YouTube. And what would they look for?
They would just type in my name. It's spelled Kelvin, Kelvin. The V is in Vinny. Lam.
So Kelvin Lam.
Yeah, and then what they can do, it says the title is 2009 NCAA Partner Stunt Champions, Kristen and Kelvin from the University of Hawaii.
And what does that mean? That was your national championship.
NCAA stands for National Cheerleaders Association. And this is the National Partner Stunt Championship in 2009 where I represented the University of Hawaii. Hold on one second. And so, are you guys ready? You want me to just put
Yeah, roll it.
Go ahead. I was installing. Yeah.
Whoops! It just went to big full screen.
That's good. That's amazing.
Oh my god!
She just did a cartwheel.
Well, it was an aerial actually.
Okay, describe it.
Wait, rewind that. Rewind that.
I don't know how to rewind this.
No, that's okay. That's okay. That's gonna keep going. Describe it.
Give me.
Oh!
Well, we might have to describe things after.
Tal and I were working on that lift. I'd never seen it before, and I see you guys do it. You thought we were making it up.
Oh my god!
Makes it look easy. She's doing backflips into one hand, overhead stands. Oh, beautiful! This is the best thing I've ever seen.
It's incredible.
This is the best thing I've ever seen.
Well, couldn't have done it without Chris.
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Oh my god!
That's the one. That's the one. That's like a one-arm back only. She does a full flip into a one hand, both her feet in your hand fully extended. That's the first. What is it? It's called a rewind, right?
That's called a one-arm rewind.
Yeah, that's the. Okay, so can you just? I mean, that was the first thing I saw you guys practicing was a one-arm rewind, and when I saw that, I thought they're like godlike or something. Like I felt like I was gonna almost faint because as a tandem surfer, I know how hard we practice. And there's Coach Mike shaking your hand. Now, that's the beautiful moment. There's Mike Baker. Right? Mike Baker's one of those guys that I mumble when I'm around him. I mean, he's so humble, he's so approachable. But when I'm around him, I just feel like mush. Like I've got nothing. I got no game.
Well,
he's amazing.
He's definitely a person that naturally makes every conversation about the person he's talking to and not about himself.
Is that George?
That is George, right?
That's your good friend George, kind of spotting, right?
Yeah, he was spotting me.
And he was also competing against you.
Yeah, we competed against each other. I spotted him earlier. It went in reverse order, so I spotted him earlier, and then he was spotting me.
And the reason why you spot, I always tell people when I'm training them in tandem, I tell the girls this. I tell them I'm spotting really not so much to protect the girl. I tell them, because he's not going to let you get hurt, but he's going to hurt himself saving you. I'm here really to save him as he's saving you. Because, I mean, I'm going to catch you. I'm going to be here for you. But I know tandem surfers don't get to be tandem surfers for very long if their partner gets injured.
Oh, yeah.
So all tandem guys will lay their life on the line for their partner, and I know that about them. So when we're teaching them more extreme lifts, in some ways I'm saving the man's dignity because he's a surfer and I got some guy spotting me, but I'm saying to the girl, he will save you. Don't have any doubt that he will protect you. but he will break his shoulder in the process. So I'm here to help him catch you so that he doesn't injure himself.
Right. Well,
and that gives him the dignity and her the sense of security.
Yeah, well, that, and with both of them feeling that sense of security, it allows them to progress way faster because then they can just commit to their body positions.
Right. And what did she say to you? Okay, rewind this thing.
Okay, let's rewind.
No, I mean, rewind it. Let's go. Not rewind that, but rewind the conversation.
Okay.
Now, leading up to this, you had competed in this championship 2 or 3 times already.
Actually, that was my very first time ever competing partner stunt. In that division and everything. I've only done team stuff before.
Well, what did Mike say to you before this competition? Did he have any last words of wisdom the day before or anything like that?
Well, you know, it wasn't a words of wisdom thing. I don't think it was. It was more just making sure that we were staying focused on the right thing.
Okay.
You know, making sure that we understood that we were there to represent the University of Hawaii, represent the whole state of Hawaii. You know, and
Hawaii's like that. When you represent, you're representing the whole state.
You do represent the whole state, and you know what? That kind of gave me goosebumps just talking about it because I guess before hearing that would have put the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I probably would have cracked under that pressure. But something happened that year, and
what was that?
I don't know. So I guess instead of fear, it instilled pride.
Ah.
And
interesting. So you weren't so much doing it for yourself anymore. You were doing it.
No, you
had a bigger reason. You were championing a whole state, not just your own ambition.
Yeah. Well, I guess that
changes a lot.
I guess that's the evolution every athlete goes through. You know, going from like how we were talking about earlier, going from the selfishness to the selflessness.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, having a why gives you a purpose.
Yeah, I always said winning a world title really doesn't make you a champion. It's what you do. A champion is someone who champions a cause bigger than they are, you know. And so just winning a world title, they call that person a champion. I disagree. The champion is the person who, after winning the world title, what do they do with that? To help the sport, to help others, or to use that title to bring focus to people that are in need, like we work with the National Kidney Foundation.
One thing that Mike did was he sat everybody down. I wasn't there at this time, but he told me the story, and he told me that he put on the board, you know, champion, and he put on the other side of the board, he put on the board champion, and then he goes, okay, when you think of this word champion, what do you think of? And people were, you know, spouting off different things, you know, humble, dedicated, you know, tunnel vision, focus, pride, represent. They, you know, came up with all these different things that made them think of what a champion is, you know, and then he put right next to it, kind of threw people off. He put championship trophy, and then people were spotting off things that would make them think what the championship trophy represents, glamour, you know, all those different things, and then the point I guess that he was trying to make was a championship trophy or a championship title doesn't mean you're a champion. You're a champion when you train. You're a champion when you wake up. You're a champion when you go to sleep. You're a champion every day of your life, on or off in the competition arena, in the field, on the mat, in the water, on the board, whatever. And that was probably one of the coolest realizations, you know, to portray. One of the coolest concepts to portray that way and get people to understand that, because, you know, it ends up being really disheartening when you see someone win, say, the Olympics or something, and then, you know, you end up hearing a month later that he was smoking weed or something.
Right, I know what you're talking about.
Some kind of crazy thing, and you know, it kind of breaks people's hearts because you know, kids look up to this person, or you know, and then so to think about things like that, and then just knowing whether or not you know, or what is acceptable or how you should be, holding you up to your own standards, you know, and making sure you're understanding that you represent a lot of people, and
going beyond that to someone's a student or someone starting out in a new career position, someone has ambitions for, like, like we just were around a lot of really ambitious people. We were on the Fuel TV shoot the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
And all those guys were like your guys' age, Shane, you and Kelvin, but I would say what I saw there was those qualities, what is it, what would you say the qualities? In other words, I saw those people excelling.
Mm-hmm.
So what would you say to not a person who wants to be a world champion, but if someone wants to be a champion at their, because one of the things that I learned from you is just to do my best, it's not to try to beat someone, because you have no control. You told me to just focus on what I have control over. Right? Not what I don't have control. I don't have control over the waves. I didn't have control over what the other competitors were going to be doing. But I did have control over how hard I trained. I did have control over how I trained, how I my flexibility training, what I ate, my attitude.
That's probably the biggest one. Is
so
we don't have control over our thoughts.
I want you to talk about that, the difference between what you have control over and what you don't have control over. And I don't want to speak just as to people who are going for world championships, but for people who are getting up tomorrow morning and have a job that maybe isn't their favorite job, but might get them to their favorite job. That kind of the real life stuff.
Ultimately, what that's about is things are going to happen. Life is going to happen, and things are never ever good or bad out there. It's always good or bad in here between your own 2 ears. And Zig Ziglar actually said that, and at least I think he originated it. I don't know. He might give credit to someone else, but I really look up to Zig Ziglar.
Who's that? Who's Zig Ziglar?
I never met him in person, but he's given he's done a lot of instructional things on. He has a book out, Secrets of Closing the Sale. He gives lectures on setting goals and things like that.
He was a contemporary of my father. My father was a motivational speaker and traveled the world speaking and teaching about goal setting and about dreaming big dreams and turning the dreams into goals and making those a reality.
Yeah.
So he was a cool guy. I read all of his stuff too.
Yeah, and that's so right, and that really directly ties into you only really have control over your thoughts. That's all you really have control over. A quick story, I guess, is I hope I do this justice because I don't really remember the exact details. But there was a farmer. There was a farmer who had a horse, and him and his son were out playing with the horse one day, and the horse kicked his son in the face and knocked him down, so it broke his jaw, broke his arm, and the neighbor comes by and goes, "Man, that sucks. That's such a bummer about your son. What bad luck." And the farmer goes, "Well, good luck, bad luck, I don't know, and a couple months later, Army recruiters were coming around, and they were, or the draft was happening, and they were starting pulling 18-year-old kids and stuff to go into the Army, and because of his son's injuries, they didn't take him, so his son didn't have to go to war, and so his neighbor comes by and says to the farmer, "Wow, so lucky that you're so lucky that your son didn't have to be drafted to go to war." And he goes, "Well, good luck, bad luck, I don't know." And then the horse all of a sudden runs away, and that was like the horse was the one that pulled the plow, on the farm. Mm-hmm. So the horse ran away, and it's like, oh my gosh, the neighbor goes like, "Man, that's such bad luck. Sorry, your horse ran away." He goes, "Well, good luck, bad luck, I don't know." Well, 2 months later, the horse comes back and brings a whole bunch of other horses with him. And he's like, "Oh my gosh, you have all these horses now. Good luck, bad luck, I don't know." It's one of those things. So, everything in life happens for a reason, but then what you choose to think of it is going to be, it's going to determine whether or not you react to a situation or you respond to a situation. And those two are very different.
Well, in these times when you've won these world titles and national titles, how many of those were you totally healthy for, where you had no injuries?
None?
Right. So part of life is I know as an athlete, I'm always surprised if I don't have an injury.
Yeah.
I don't assume that I'm going to be totally healthy at any moment, and so you learn to work around those injuries. But in some ways, those make you stronger. Because when I remember when I had a knee surgery, the only cardio I could do was crunches. Yeah. And man, I got strong abs because of that.
Yeah. Hey, you can always get better at something, and
Oh, wait a minute. Say that again.
You can always get better at something.
Yeah.
And, I think I was watching some YouTube video. I can't remember it, but there was it was this guy talking about going. He was telling a story about a young boy that wanted to be the best at something, and he went to this guru and he was like, hey, you gotta teach me how to be successful. I want to learn. And the guru's like, you really want to learn? Yeah, I do. Okay, fine. Meet me at the beach tomorrow morning at 4 a.m.
Why are you sure that wasn't me talking to you?
It might have been. It might have been. But so he goes, okay, I'll meet you there. So 4 a.m. they meet at the beach, and he goes, okay, come with me. Pulls him out into the water. They go out about the water's about 4 feet deep, and he goes, are you sure now? You really want to be successful? And he goes, yes, I do. So the guru grabs the kid's head and shoves his head underwater and holds him underwater.
That was you and me, pretty sure.
That might have been the board and me, but holds him underwater, and so he's fighting it. He's trying really hard, and he can't breathe. So he's about to go unconscious under there, and then the guru pulls him back out of the water right before he goes unconscious, and he comes up gasping for air, and he goes, if you want to be successful, you gotta want to be successful more than you want to breathe. And that struck a chord with me. That I was like, wow. All the people that are really successful in life, that's all they care about is being successful.
And successful doesn't mean money.
It doesn't.
It means following your passions. I remember a Zig Ziglar moment. Of course, my dad was a motivational speaker, but I remember this moment. I was up in a kind of an attic area of the house trying to reach for something that my dad said was there, like a Christmas tree or something, a little Christmas decoration. Mm-hmm. And I said, Dad, I can't reach it. And then he said to me, if I offered you $1 million, could you reach it? And I realized,
it changes everything, doesn't it?
I mean, it's BS. Most of our reasons for not accomplishing things are excuses. Not reasons at all.
That's pretty rough. That's pretty rough thinking. That's really stressful thinking.
Well, that's
it's tough, man. If you think like that all the time, you're going to put yourself through some tough times.
Actually, I think it's the opposite. I think if you don't think like that, you put yourself into tough times. You were saying something like that to me, I think yesterday. Were you the one that said if you choose the easy way? Who was telling me yesterday? If you're always choosing the easy way, eventually things get really hard. If you choose the hard way, things actually become easier. The more you choose the hard, the easier life becomes. But if you always are choosing the easy way, things get harder and life gets worse, and circumstances around you get worse. It wasn't you that said that.
That might have been your wife.
No, who was it? If someone really, probably Mike Baker said it to me in my dreams or something.
I don't know.
No, but help me with that. Develop it. It's something like,
I know.
if you're always choosing the easy way, the less stressful way, you're probably going to find that you end up in a lot of stress because you haven't been doing the hard things, and so your circumstances around you start to fall apart. Yeah. But if you're doing the hard things in life, your circumstances get...
Yeah, I understand that thought process. I don't know. I understand the thought process. I remember a quote from Zig Ziglar again.
Yeah.
He says, if you do everything in life you have to do when you have to do them, you'll have all the time in the world to do what you want to do later when you want to do them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's similar to what you're trying to say.
It's a little bit different, but that's a great point too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the truth of it is, what's hard or what's easy is all relative.
Yeah, like reaching for that box was easy as pie, actually. I just had to decide I really wanted to get to it.
Right.
So it was relative.
Right. And so, sometimes putting a certain incentive or a certain, most of the time I'd like to stick to positive incentives, but if there has to be a negative incentive in there or something like that, putting an incentive changes the stakes.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden the scales tip off balance, and then you go, okay, well, what do I want more?
Mm-hmm. But life is stressful. I mean, what people... I used to laugh because people say, I want to get back into nature, and that peaceful calmness of the birds. And,
that's me.
But you know what the truth is?
That's what I always do.
The truth is there's only one animal that I know of in the whole world that is peaceful, and that's a whale, because he's on the top of the feeding chain. All the other animals in the ocean are like freaking out all the time. Even if you're a whale, even if you're a shark, there's a dolphin might be after you. I mean, nature doesn't feel a lack of stress. Every bird you see is, when it's chirping, is probably saying, "Watch out! There's a hawk coming." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nature is stressful. Life is stressful, but we have the capacity to respond, like you said, is it good luck or bad luck? We can respond with.
Well, you know, actually, one of my college professors, I think it was a sociology teacher. Actually, he talked about life as a bucket and stress as water, and you know, we all have a desired stress level. We have to have stress in our life. If not, we go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, stress is not a bad thing. It's not a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just part of life, you know. And if we don't have enough stress, if we don't fill up that water to the tip of that bucket, we don't have enough stress in our life. And if we don't have enough stress in our life, we go crazy. And so, but what happens is when we have too much stress, then we're like, oh no, the bucket's overflowing. And that's where people go wrong. Is some people know how to empty the bucket.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people know how to empty the bucket by, you know, taking on a sport, going surfing.
Yeah.
That empties your bucket, I bet.
Oh,
you know?
totally. For sure.
Yeah. For me, it might be weightlifting or throwing some stunts or doing some tumbling, or, you know, for other people, it's spending time with their family. You know, that would work for me also. Something to empty that bucket a little bit. Just pour some of that water out. But then other people are the ones, you know, they defer to alcohol or drugs.
Yeah.
You know? And
Yeah, because they I think it's really important to exercise, because stress is connected to exercise. You know, that's all there, because you get something when you're done exercising. Your body's telling you, you get extra chemicals to, you know, feel better.
It actually rewards you. Your body.
And if you don't do that, some of that can sit in you, and it builds up, and then the next thing you know, you're like, I'm just gonna get some alcohol or something. I mean, like, that's what most people could think. You know.
Well, drugs and alcohol, what that does is that just pokes holes in the bucket.
Right.
It pokes holes in the bucket, so it still relieves that stress. But then all of a sudden, the holes are permanent in the bucket, and no matter what you do, you can never fill your bucket again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
It just keeps running out.
But like, I think it's kind of a silly analogy to say that about weed, because there's a lot of people that need it, you know, for like glaucoma and stuff. You know what I mean?
You know, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about using those things as an escape.
Yeah.
Remember, it's all about
totally.
why. It's all about why.
I just don't want people to like go, well, what, weed? Like, because some people do in the audience might.
Sure.
I just think it was a bad analogy, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I could say the same about Vicodin.
Yeah.
I could say the same about any kind of
Xanax, yeah.
Or whatever. You know, it's not. Remember, weed is not good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, alcohol is not good or bad. Smoking is not good or bad. The habit,
right,
is what's bad.
When it owns you.
When it owns you. When you're using it as an escape. Mm-hmm. You know, when you're using it as a remedy for something that you're choosing to just run away from in life. You don't want to deal with it, so you're using this instead.
Right.
You know,
and that goes back to. Go ahead.
Oh well, you know, just to finish that thought is that's what makes it good or bad, not the thing itself. You know?
Right. And that goes back to. I just think I know, it's so easy to avoid the hard things. But if you face them, my mother wrote a really great story about 25 years ago when she was just before she had her stroke. It was her last time she was ever to write fluidly, and she wrote a 20-page letter to all of her grandchildren, and she wanted them all to read it on their 16th birthday and every year afterwards. And one of the things she talked about was to do the hard thing. And I know for myself, if I keep putting those things off, you know, that's what kind of like alcohol does. If you abuse it.
Well, it dumbs your brain down too.
Yeah,
because marijuana has a whole different effect. I don't think people realize.
But I mean, if you're doing that,
but what you're saying is, don't let something control you. Don't let it take over your life. Control yourself. Yeah. Self mastery. Be the person. You know, don't let anything ruin you.
Just making the conscious decision.
Yeah.
What do you mean by self mastery?
Just everything you do should be very, I guess, wise, and just make sure. Because you can see patterns that you repeat sometimes. And if you see those patterns, you're repeating those bad habits or whatever, just little things,
The trick comes in seeing those in the moment. and not in hindsight.
Right. So now let's go. Let's look at another one of your videos. What's the next one we're going to look at?
Let's see here. Well.
It's noon, so we're not drinking our normal fizzies that we normally have. We're doing our Perrier.
Well, this right here...
Well, we never analyzed your bad surfing technique.
Oh, yeah.
We need to do that.
So, okay, so tell me, what should be the proper paddling technique?
So this guy Kelvin, first say this. Kelvin, so I meet Kelvin, he becomes my coach. And then I surfed with Shannon, and she was wonderful. And then she met Scotty, big wave rider Scotty Perez. They fall in love. I taught them how to tandem surf together, and then they fell in love. Now they're engaged, right? But then I lose that partner again because all my partners fall in love with other people. Because I've always told Rabbi Kikai always told me, don't date your partner.
Yeah,
Of course, now I'm married to my partner, Talon. But anyway,
look at the wonderful gift you gave her.
Yeah. So, but this is the cool thing. So then Crystal Palace from Kauai comes out. She tries out for U of H. Mm-hmm. What were they thinking? She should have made that team. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's really good.
There just weren't a lot of openings, I guess.
Yeah, it ends up being a tough process.
Yeah. Well, I was glad for it because I'm glad. I mean, there's just too many not enough openings, I guess. So then you introduced me to Crystal Palace, and she gave me the gift, along with you, of winning 2 Masters World titles. And I would not have done that without your coaching and your bringing Crystal into my life. And
well, that's nice of you, but ultimately it's all a group effort. I could give all the coaching in the world. I don't know if it's the best coaching or the good coaching, but if if people don't allow me to coach them, if they don't, if there's not that, kind of like in Harry Potter, before he pets that big thing that could bite his head off, like you have to bow to him.
I've never seen that.
Oh.
Yeah, me neither.
Sorry.
Okay, everyone else has.
Bad reference.
Shane and I are the only two that haven't seen it, but so far, audience has. Yeah.
So, kind of like in any relationship, you can't just love people; they have to allow you to love them.
Wow. Yeah.
And sometimes that's another thing too. On the flip side of that, you can't force people to love you. You sometimes just have to allow and let them to love you. And that's the same thing with coaching. I feel like I got as good as I was because I allowed I allowed myself to be vulnerable enough to accept criticism and to let myself get beat down and stuff, and allowed Mike to mentor me.
Yeah, but what about? I was your surfing coach.
Yeah.
And you sucked at it.
We spent 5 minutes. I swear. Okay, you know what?
I know because I saw
this.
Okay, and now I know you got better at it. But the first time, Kelvin, one of the greatest athletes I know, strong as an ox, and I mean, great attitude, go for it, aggro attitude. There's only one other person I've ever taught to surf that was worse, at least during the first 5 minutes, than you. And that was Christian Okoye, the Nigerian Nightmare, all-pro, running back from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
And I think it's because you guys are so muscular. He had trouble lifting his hands and extending them. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, he did it for the first 20 or 30 seconds, but there was just this... I think you're just so muscular. There's something about the rotation or something, but I mean, I could not analyze that. That'd be like...
Are you sure it wasn't that croissant you gave me earlier?
Yeah,
right before we went out, weighing my arms down.
But you eventually started going out and surfing a little bit.
Yeah, I think I caught maybe 2 or 3 white washes.
They caught the waves caught him. But that says something, because here you are. You can be a world champion at something, but if you don't take that attitude in other areas of your life, and you're not trying new things and maybe things that you're not even any good at, because like the next thing I want to do is I want to learn how to paint, not houses. I mean paint. I want to see if there's anything in me that could do anything artistic. So if you're a champion, a real champion is going to always be extending and trying new things.
Have you guys seen the movie The Last Samurai with Tom Cruise?
Oh heck yeah.
Yeah. You like that, Shane?
I love that movie.
What do you mean the artistic?
There's so many good. There's this one scene where he's talking about the something that sticks out will be the first thing to be chopped off. Do you remember that line?
I don't. I was actually thinking about a different line. The other line I was talking about.
That's so weird because I was thinking about it this week. Maybe I should learn it for the podcast, and here you are. You're talking about it.
Really?
Isn't that silly?
That's weird.
That happens a lot to me.
Let's hear what you were going to say, and then we're going to go back to what you were going to say.
Oh no. Well, it was in the samurai village that they took him to. I guess it was like a narrative part. He was like writing a journal or something, and he was talking about how interesting the people and the lifestyle was there, and how everybody there devoted every minute of their life, every second of their life, to the perfection of whatever they were doing. And that's something huge, to devote an entire moment to having that moment be perfect.
Even if you're resting.
Well, even if
because go ahead, Shane.
And like I know like Japanese culture. I watch NHK World News a lot. It's Japanese news, and like I've been learning so much on how like Japan's so organized and so like efficient, and like I love that. It's like they're doing it the best way possible. I think no other country does it as well as they do.
Well, it's cultural. It's
cultural.
It's taught from when they're real young.
But there's a rhythm to life.
I saw this video one time of this guy who he does anime. He's a really fantastic artist, and he taught all these kids in Japan classroom, and they were like I think 12 or whatever, and they all did an animation. They did it so well. I was amazed. I was like, wow, like they did it professionally. Mm-hmm. It's just like everything, yeah, like you're saying, the culture. Mm-hmm. It's just awesome, you know.
Well, but you can't possibly be on it. That's a commercial. I'm saying on it.com. You can't possibly be on it 100% of the time. I mean, what you have to do is realize. Like for me, I've got so much on my plate, and I love all of it. It's not because I'm driven. Nothing in my life. I don't allow things. People say, "Wow, you're a real driven person." No, I'm not. I think that's being a slave. In fact, the word passion in the Latin actually means pathology. It was a negative thing. In other words, if your passions are driving you, that's different than you being in a chariot and them being your horses, and you're encouraging them, stirring them, and guiding them. But I know from my own life, like yesterday at the beach, I'm not the type of person who slows down very easily. Sure. But I know part of what I need to do is zone out. I need to be able to lay under a palm tree and rest and play ukulele. And when I do that, though, it's actually part of what you said. Everyone is trying to, and that village was trying to be perfect at what they were doing. But the time of resting, as an athlete, is. You lift all those weights, and if you don't rest the next day, you might as well not have lifted weights. Well, you need that time of recovery. Exactly. But that's all part of the pursuit of perfection.
For me, I feel like I need isolation from everything. I need to have complete nothing coming in. Like when I was out in the water the other day swimming, I'll go really far out, I'll swim out and just lay and look in the sky. Well, and that's like my only isolation from the island because the island's so full of people.
You're right. I mean, when you go out in the water, when I first started doing my distance paddling, it's the only place I could go and scream.
Yeah.
And no one hear you, no one look at you like, what's going on? How many places are there that you can go and
just
scream,
let it all out? Yeah.
Let it all out and sing and no one laughs at you.
It's really rare.
But when you're out paddling.
It's the only place, our really true only escape, the best escape is the ocean here.
And I look at the ocean, to me, as a picture of God.
It's so massive, you know?
Yeah. When I look at it as when you go out into the deep, when you look out that way, nothing has changed in thousands of years. You look this way, it changes every day towards the land.
Sure. Yeah.
But when you go out there, you're like going into the abyss of God's love. And the thing about that is, you need to ask them.
We got someone here.
Yeah. Why don't you go take care of it, Shane?
Okay, I'll go tell him.
I'll do it. Keep talking.
Yeah. Well, my whole thing with perfection is, there's different definitions of perfection.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's not like Bear said.
You since you've been in cheerleading and doing this, you really have to learn a lot about this stuff, right? Like,
well, yeah.
I mean, like I just see it in you. Like most people, like it seems like it's a great thing to do because you're always perseverance. You're always learning more and more about yourself, and not a lot of people can do that. So I admire you, man. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that. But going back to perfection, I was telling Shane. It's different. There's different definitions of perfection.
Yeah.
And like you said, Bear, that you can't be 100% on everything all the time. But again, that depends on what your goal is.
Right.
And that depends on your definition of perfection. Because you know what, I might have sucked at paddling, and so I was definitely not 100% out there. That might have been.
But you gave 100%.
I gave 100%. I tried to. At least.
That's the bottom line.
But the part that I was trying, what I mean was, I was trying to make sure that I paid attention to everything you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to make sure that I was doing everything that you were saying. Whether or not I actually did, I probably didn't.
Right.
But I was trying to. Applying that to other things in life, though, is when you're with your family, just being with your family.
Right.
And it's being entirely with your family.
Being present.
Being present.
Not thinking about your bills.
Work, stresses in life, or other stresses. Just being with your family. Or when you're at work, you know, making sure that what you're putting out there, you understand is representing you, is representing all these things.
Yeah.
And so you're making sure that you're putting out a good product. And sometimes, you know, sometimes a perfect product is supposed to have some flaws in it. You know?
Like they say, the perfect diamond, it has a little flaw in it.
Mm-hmm. And really, so again, different definitions of perfection, but then, you know, having that thought process pushes you so much further than not having that thought process.
Right. Well, Jesus said, "Be perfect," and I remember that was the first scripture verse I ever heard that jumped out at me, and it's like, "Are you kidding me?" But then, I realized I was, and no, but I mean,
yes.
But part of that too is that a command, or is that a creative statement? Like when he said, "Let there be light." There's a kind of a breath of God that we can partake of His perfection. Otherwise, you know, we can't. But there's also that the Western mind has a different viewpoint than the Eastern mind of perfection. I think perfection is about balance. And I remember people used to tell me in California, "You're the most balanced person I know," because they would see me really, you know, being successful in my business and hopefully successful in my family, although I did have a major meltdown. But also they saw me taking time to play. And so I know that to have a balanced life doesn't mean that you're being aggro and working and focused. And those are the kind of people I don't like to be around them. They're just driven. They're not centered. They're not in control of themselves. They're not taking time to meditate or prayer or whatever. They're just driven. And whether it's driven by a drug or driven by a need for money or driven by because your daddy didn't love you or whatever it was, it's not good. You know. But to be perfect means to me more to be a whole person.
Right. You know what's so funny is, you know, sometimes talking about perfection, talking about goal setting, talking about motivation, talking about stress release and all these things, it motivates a lot of people, it inspires a lot of people, but sometimes it can rub people the wrong way. And that's a really odd thing. But you know, so for
what do you mean by that?
Just first off, for all those listening out there, just understand that, you know, some of these things don't think that we're not, you know, trying to take you guys into account or anything like that. Not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, not trying to rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is, you know, sometimes you go, well, you know, sometimes you go, say if you're coaching or something, and you go, well, and you say, hey, the best whoever in the world at this would do it like this, you know, and you might be talking to the best, or you might be talking to the second best, or whatever, and then you go, wait, you're saying I'm not the best? Are you saying I'm not good at this? Are you saying, no, that's not what we're saying. We're giving you a suggestion of, hey, maybe try this. That's what we're really saying, you know. You know, it's tough because a lot of times there's perfection can go both ways. You know, we can talk about that going both ways. One is we talk about being perfect, and the people go, well, shoot, are you saying that I'm not perfect? I think I'm perfect. You know, say, no, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, you know, this is a thought process. This is a concept. And then there's other people that jump too far to the other direction and go, well, I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Why should I go for perfection? And that's too far in the opposite direction too. You know, and again, that goes back to you talking about balance. You know? And I feel like that's such an important understanding to have is, you know, yes, we're not perfect. We're human. You know, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't strive for perfection. Because if we don't, if you're not getting better at something, you're getting worse.
It's true. It's what is it? What's that law of the universe?
Hey, Kelvin.
Everything tends towards chaos.
Is that like a lot of like I really dig that a lot. Like that's what it seems like when you're in Japan, they're so nice and everything they mean. Like I don't know if there's any other negative stories, but what I've heard and what I've seen and what I've learned is that it's like every situation they're always nice. So they always mean the best. It seems like they're not meaning what you're just saying. Like, oh, am I not doing it correctly, or should I do it over? It seems like they don't even think of that because. Is that true?
I don't know.
Have you been there?
I've been to Japan.
You have a lot of people there that
I mean, I'm
actually
sure
admire and follow you.
I mean, we are people, right? But the way it's like the culture is it's like that. We're trying to be really polite in the most efficient way, right?
I feel like what they're taught possibly, I'm just guessing,
Yeah.
from when they're young is always be polite, always show respect, and have a lot of pride in what you do. You know, and in your reputation. Pride, not in the bad way, pride in the good way.
Right.
You know, because your reputation is everything.
Yeah, I mean, when Shane does a video, he does not like it when I say, dude, we got a deadline, you got to get this out by 12, because he knows that when that video goes on YouTube, it represents you. It represents me, too.
Forever.
Yeah, right? What do you think is perfection, Shane?
Me, perfection?
How would you define it?
It's a game that you play where if you don't get the pieces in time, it pops out. You know what I'm talking about? It has a little timer on it.
Yeah.
I don't know what perfection is. I don't know. I think we're all still trying to figure it out, but I mean, I think you're totally right, Calvin, like what you're saying, a lot of stuff you say about, like, a lot of the stuff you're telling me, it's like, yeah, man, like, that's pretty smart, you know?
Well, those aren't my ideas.
Right. But now you're in a point.
And there you are. Again, you don't bring it back to yourself, and that's really important. It's beautiful. Like, every time like, someone gives you a compliment, it's like, you know what, it's, you know, you don't, your selflessness, you know what I mean?
Well, I feel like selflessness is a practice, but again, you know, I wouldn't know those things, or I wouldn't have this way of thinking if it weren't for Mike, if it weren't for my parents, if it weren't for Bear. You know, I learned a lot from you too, and I still continue.
What to do wrong, how to do stuff wrong.
Well, Bear, you like to be humble like that, but you know, I try to, because you know.
Well, now you're in that stage. You're
hey,
in that stage.
I'm gonna go get. Do you guys want another Perrier? Do you want a Perrier?
I'm good, Shane. But now you're in that place where you are the teacher now. So Shane's very first question to you when you came in today was, you're at San Jose State.
Yes.
And now let's talk about that. Let's show one more video, and then I want you to talk about how you. I would like for you to share with us, you know, now how you're taking that, turning the corner. Now you're the teacher. You're the mentor. So you won the national titles. Are you going to show us the world title one or your highlight?
Well, which one would you like to see? I have the highlight one is a cool one because it's a compilation of
let's do the highlight.
What
let's
I
do
think
the
is the coolest skills.
And then we'll tell people where to find it, and then I would like for you to now take the next corner, which is like you're out in. And if people want to learn how to do these lifts and they're tandem surfers, they could probably contact you in California.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so
I mean, it's time to bring a lot of these skills. I mean, the hardest lift there is in tandem surfing is when the girl stands in your hands and you extend it. I mean, that's easy for you guys. But for us, that's the hardest because the COG is so high where the point of contact is, and her COG is so high above the board.
COG meaning center of gravity?
Right. So when Crystal and I, you know, you taught us, and Crystal and I hit that lift in France. We're the only team that's done a competition in 40 years, I think. You know?
Wow.
Very difficult.
Well, you know, it's different. I mean, you give us a lot of credit for saying that that's an easy skill for us, but I mean, we're not doing it on a surfboard in water on a wave. You know what I mean?
When there's motion, that gets sketchy.
It does get sketchy, and you know, you end up having to really pay attention a lot more and be a lot more touch sensitive.
Are there basic principles, as you're pulling this up, are there basic principles you can communicate to people? I mean, like, I know the way the girl pulls up through her backbone, and when you're holding a girl, there's a way that, like, for example, when I'm lifting a girl on the beach, people who don't know anything about tandem surfing, they'll come over and want to touch the girl to maybe protect her. They think they're helping me or helping her by, let me spot her by touching her. The moment someone touches her, she's in jeopardy because I can no longer feel her center of balance, right? You know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. There's a certain way you can do that.
Okay.
You know, because there's a way to do it where you pull the girl or you inadvertently make the girl go off of her center.
Right.
And then there's a way to do it.
But you'd have to be very skilled to know.
Yeah.
And what I see happens in life, though, is someone's really going for it. Like Shane he's going for it big time in his videography and his editing, and he's extremely skilled at it. People in his life have come up and tried to touch him and move him. In other words, the same way I'll be lifting a girl, it looks like really extreme to people around us, but it's not because we know what we're doing. And a tourist will come by and say, "Oh, I better help," and grabs the girl and touches her, doesn't know how to do it. People do that in Shane's life or our lives. They'll come up to us and say, "Oh, you're not doing it right. Let me touch it. Let me show you the right way." I mean, you've had that happen a lot with you in the last summer when we were filming, and there's people who had real negative effects on you, thinking they were helping you by touching you, and what that does is it pushes you off your center, and you can't feel your balance point anymore. It's really important for us as individuals to know who we are, where we're going, what we really want. And if people want to coach us and mentor us, that's one thing. But when you feel someone pushing you off of your balance, you know they're not doing you any favor.
It's hard to read people, really. That's what really comes down to.
So now we're going to check out. Is the video still coming up?
It's ready to go.
Oh, let's go. So this is your highlight.
This is a highlight reel. I compiled some videos from all the way from 2006 to 2009.
How can people see this?
Actually, same thing. Just type in my name, Kelvin Lam, in the YouTube search bar, and it'll come up.
Is
it
it
possible?
Can
you spell it out?
Yeah, it's Kelvin. Last name is Lam, Lam.
And you're gonna. Can you stop every now and then the video?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell us about what we're seeing.
Okay. So this right here, this is just a clip showing when I won. This is all just the intro, really.
Where anything is possible.
That stuff right there, we call that the halo. So what it is she's standing on one leg, and then she's already on top of me. I bring her down to shoulder height, and I give her a quick pop, and then she kind of
puts her
body into an X. And
so right now she's above him, and what are you grabbing her feet?
I'm holding her feet right. Well, if we can rewind a little bit. Let's see. Well, first off, that's the opening that you saw earlier in my partnership routine. It's an aerial full up. We actually made that stunt up. It was actually all Kristen's idea. We would do cartwheel ups where she would do a cartwheel, and I'd pop her up to the top, and then she was, wait, what if I just don't put my hands down on the ground? And I was like, okay, well, let's try that. And then, all right, no, what if we spin it? Okay. So it was kind of that's how it went. It's all one of those, well, what if this? And then that's how.
So you're holding her by one hand, where she's standing above both her feet. One hand, she's fully erect, standing up.
And then this next part here, here's how it starts. So that body position right there is called a liberty body position, where she's standing on her right leg, her left knee is bent, almost like where you can balance a cup of water, like you can balance a cup of water on your knee. Yeah. And she's standing straight up on top of me, and then I bring her down to shoulder height. So shoulder height right there.
And you're bending into a squat.
Yeah, I'm squatting down, and then I pop her. She kind of stars her body out, X's her body out sideways, and
that's
I catch her.
So cool.
I catch her before her head becomes inverted. I make contact then, and then it looks kind of like a windmill or a pinwheel.
Yeah.
Where she just slips right back up to the top again.
Yeah. So put music.
I like a lot of these songs.
Keep the
This right here is called a back handspring full up.
Keep the volume up.
So what she does is she does a back handspring, kind of like a back flip onto your hands. It stops, it pauses in a handstand, or passes through a handstand body position, and then I grab her and I spin her on the way up to the top to my left hand. That's called a side sunny. So it's like a side flip up to the top. This is a partial clip from the 2010 World Championships when I was on Team USA. So now right here, I'm on top of two guys. Their thighs. I'm in a side stand.
Is that you pressing her?
Yeah. She was in a hand to hand, so she was in a handstand on top of my hand.
And you flipped her. From a hand to hand.
To her feet. Yeah.
You guys, you got to watch this video. It's Kelvin Lam, Kelvin. And his last name is Lam, Lam. And videographer is Mike Baker.
Who's the editor?
What a man! Is that in the beach in Waikiki? No, that's
that is in Waikiki. That was at Queen.
Yeah, no, this is over at the University of Hawaii. If you want to be on that team, man, you bet. You know, Tristan Principato, my last competition partner, we could have won world titles if we had practiced more. Than I've only trained for a few months, and she's one of the best. Like a Crystal. Mike wanted her to go to the U. He recruited her. He offered her a scholarship.
That's so
she went to HPU because ever since she was a little kid, that's where.
When the women get flicked up like that, when they get flicked up, do they have to tighten every muscle? They become like a twig.
Sort of. I mean, there's. You want to know what muscles to relax and what to tighten.
But when they're up there, you're basically keeping their balance. They're hitting the lift and holding it, right?
Right. That's probably
pulling up is their job. There's Waikiki.
Exactly. They have the hardest job in the world.
Trusting you.
Holding their body position. Yeah.
Yeah, they got to pull up and hold their position where because the girls, when they're first learning, they'll feel the board move and they'll think, oh, I need to rebalance or I need to shift my weight. And really, they have no business doing that because they're not connected to the ground or to the board. It's the guy's job to keep the balance. It's the girl's job to hit or lift and pull up. And that goes back again to a lot of lessons we can learn about life, which is, you know, when you're part of a team and you're coaching a team now, when you're part of a team, everyone kind of has their job. And what you can do, you said something to me, what was it? Average people can do uncommon things. Is that a Mike Baker or was that a Kelvin Lam?
That might have, I don't know. I think that might have just been something out of the spur of the moment. Just, you know, because, I mean, that's true. You know, everybody is average in some way. But what makes you unaverage is your thought process. What makes you above average is your thought process. You know, and
what does your thought process have to be above average? What do you tell the students you're working with now at San Jose State?
Well, the first thing I do is I describe to them what a champion should be. You know, the qualities of a champion.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, you know, understanding that there's a sense of urgency, knowing what your goals are, showing respect for the place that you're working out of, you know, pushing yourself to the limit, even if that's an uncomfortable position. But the toughest part about, you know, the toughest quality of being a champion is, especially while you're training in front of other people, is allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to make mistakes.
That's true of everything in life, right?
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, and there's a lot of other qualities that I'm leaving out right now. But, you know, but I try to set those expectations for them. And I let them know that, you know, I don't care if you mess up, you know, because that's going to happen. You know, it's going to be how well you take direction, what you're going to be doing. I mean, you know, I feel like saying it like this, it doesn't really give it justice, you know, because have you seen Rocky Balboa, the last Rocky?
Yeah.
I mean, man, that talk he had with his son out on the street, you know, like that.
Remind us of what he said.
That gives us justice.
I mean, the newest one, the
newest one. Yeah, he goes. He says something like, "Ain't nobody gonna hit harder than life, you know. Not you, not me, not nobody." And you know, it's not about how hard you can get hit, but it's about how hard you can get hit and pick yourself up and keep moving forward.
Moving forward, yeah. It doesn't have to be like, you might even be moving forward 1 inch, but you're moving forward.
Exactly. As long as there's some sort of progression. And that's how, he goes, that's how winning is done. It's like, wow. You know, and you know, it had background music, and it was real dramatic at the time, and, you know, I feel like that made a huge impact on me. Talking about what you know, the qualities of a champion and setting.
First of all, if you're saying life can hit you hard. But a champion puts themselves in places where they can get hit hard too.
Yes.
You know.
Well, you know.
And so you've
calculated.
Learned, but you learn that lesson.
Here's some Rocky Balboa quotes from Rocky Balboa. My point is, I'm pushing something, and nobody looks to me looks too happy about it. So.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's a good point. Again, going back to you,
My
Shane.
point is, I'm pushing something, and nobody looks too happy about it. So it's like
he was talking about the pursuit of happiness.
Yeah,
you know, and he was like, "What happened?"
I love that movie.
To the pursuit of
such a good on that,
or the right to pursue, you know, or whatever, something like that. And he goes, "Yeah, well, you know, how does that apply to this?" And well, I'm pursuing something, and nobody seems too happy about it.
Yeah, and Shane, I mean, that's true. I mean, I see that in your own life too.
Dream.
But no, I see that like in your life too, where you're pushing something, you're following a dream, and people are always kind of trying to knock you off your center. But you just have kept going and going and going to get to where you are. Like the podcast thing, he said, let's do a podcast. He had no idea what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And he just ordered these things. Okay, we ordered those things.
What was that movie with Will Smith and his son? Actually, I think that was called Pursuit of Happiness. But he goes, you know, don't let anybody tell you can't do something. If they can't do it, they're going to tell you that you can't do it.
Right.
And, you know, all these...
People hate me sometimes because I'm happy.
You know,
there's haters,
and you know what? That's why I keep saying I can take very little credit of the knowledge that I have or the stuff that I'm trying to tell people because I take it from other people too. You know, it's just those are things that have helped me get through.
But you know, you told me once when we were training, because the partner we were training with at the time, kind of really lost the motivation, and we were like training hard. I mean, we were training really hard. No wonder she was depleted. But you said, I forget how to say it. This is we're supposed to be having fun, and sometimes training isn't fun. But I mean, it's kind of funny because sometimes you're training really, really hard, and that when your guts hurt you, when your solar plexus hurt you because you're training really hard, it doesn't seem like fun, but it is fun. But then you said something like, you know what's really fun? Yeah, it should be fun. You know what's really fun? Is competing and knowing that you did your, or actually I think you said winning.
Oh, I don't know what.
But what the essence you're saying is, you know what's really fun? Is really training hard and then going out there and showing what you can really do. You know, knowing that you've done your best. That's what's fun.
It's fun to be good.
It's fun to be your best.
It's exactly.
Yeah, no matter what that is.
It sucks to suck.
Yeah, and you know it sucks to know you didn't do the work to do your best. And it's not about competing. It's about that feeling. There's a certain zenith. There's a certain wind underneath your wings that you get. There's a certain velocity when I'm piloting an airplane that I have to get to before I get liftoff. Mm-hmm. And if I don't, it's like if you don't do your best, you never knew what it was like to fly.
Well,
you know, you're just going 60 miles an hour down the runway. If you would just give it that little extra 5%, you'd be at 70 miles an hour and you'd be feeling liftoff. And you never, what if you were supposed to fly and you never knew that what it was like because you never really gave it that little extra.
Well, you just don't want to go through life asking yourself, well, what if I just did this a little bit better? Or what if I just didn't stay up so late that one night? Could I have, you know, had a better performance? Or you know,
and then that's not about cheerleading. That's about getting up and doing what you needed to do for your family to put bread on the table. Sometimes, you know?
It's about everything. Really,
it's about everything.
Yeah.
Well, we got to kind of wrap this up pretty soon.
Let me tell you.
Give us some more, Shane.
I was talking about Flintstones earlier. I was wondering how old it was. It's September 30th, 1960 to April 1st, 1966. So,
talking about Fred Flintstone?
I just wanted to tell
How old is he? 19 what?
That's how old the show is.
Okay, when was it?
September 30th, 1960 to April 1st, 1966.
Okay, so I am older than Fred Flintstone. I'm 1953.
Yabba dabba doo.
Yabba dabba doo. Yeah,
I wish I could find some. There's another line here.
From Rocky?
Yeah, who's got the right to tell you that? Who? Nobody. It's your right to listen to your gut. It ain't nobody's right to say no after you earned the right to be where you want to be and do what you want to do. You know, the older I get, the more things I gotta leave behind. That's life. That's life. The only thing I'm asking you guys to leave on the table is what's right.
Wow. Well, maybe we should end the podcast with that.
Yeah.
I was going to ask Kelvin to give us his last wisdom, but it's going to be kind of hard to follow that.
Oh, yeah, that's.
We'll give it up to Rocky. We'll give it up to Rocky.
Yes.
Okay. What else, Kelvin?
Well, it's all Rocky's wisdom. It's all Will Smith. It's all Mike Baker. It's all Bear Woznick. It's all
right on.
You know, it's all these guys. You know, thank you guys so much for having me on here.
And if we want to follow you on Twitter?
On Twitter, it's at LamKelvin. It's my first and last name just reversed.
So you guys, he promises he's going to start Twittering more.
Yeah, I got to do that.
What are you going to Twitter about?
You know, maybe just some thoughts for the day. You
Inspirational
or yeah, something that I'm thinking about. Maybe it's maybe some advice for people trying out for different cheerleading things. Or
Well, you know what the toughest thing for the guy? Let's just get honest about this. Is when the girl is constipated. And she weighs 5 pounds heavier than the week before. So what advice do you have about that? Let's get down to the real.
Yes.
What do you do about that?
Get stronger.
Get stronger. I had a tandem partner that was constipated once.
Oh, man.
And she was already like 100.
Gorgeous
girl, but already a little bit heavy for me.
Actually, sorry. So that answer, I mean, if you want an honest answer, that answer was probably the old me. Get stronger or whatever, but maybe the better answer would be help take care of her.
Yeah, help take care of her. Well, all I know is my partner, she for some reason, she thought bagels would help her get rid of her constipation problem. It was like 5 days that she was gaining weight, and it was. Actually, we ended up going to the podium for the first time in my career, even though my partner was constipated. So maybe you are right. She'd gained like 6 pounds, and she was already like, you know, way over what I needed her to be.
Yeah.
She was beautiful, perfect body, but more heavier than I needed to be. But actually, yeah, I had been training hard, and we did get to the podium.
Well, I mean, if she was, here's what I mean is, you know, weight doesn't really matter too much, but you know, if someone's constipated, they're not feeling very good.
Yeah,
you know, they're not comfortable. Things are hurting and stuff. So maybe that would be. The
and
best
she was
thing
probably
to
stressed.
do.
That might have been the whole issue.
I bet. Yeah.
So that's a great way to end it. We had the Rocky Balboa quote, and we could have ended it there.
And we ended with constipation.
But we ended it with constipation. I think that's beautiful. Okay, so everybody, thanks for Kelvin Lam, and he's twittered at Lam Kelvin, and Shane Woznick. Your Twitter account is what?
At Shane Woznick.
And I'm at Bear Woznick, and you can see all of Shane's videos at bearswave.com and videos for goofs or video for goofs?
Videos for
goofs, and what's the other one?
It's just Shane Woznick YouTube.
Shane Woznick YouTube. He's got a lot of cool
Type
videos
in
up there.
Ferrari 458 Italia. That's a video I did for creative exercise.
Yeah, some of them are just.
It's got about like 5,000 hits, I think, right now.
Some of them are just like his funnest ones.
That's like my favorite video. Like that video, I can watch over and over again, and people say like, you know, people that have watched it, they're like,
it's cool because you know that's the one where you weren't trying to do a professional product. You were just having fun.
I was seeing how far I could go
what you can
with
test.
something that you know you could never really truly film unless you're doing.
How was your work with Fuel TV? Did you have fun?
Oh, I love it. Yeah,
yeah
those guys, all of them were like buddies. We were buddies right away. It was so weird. It was like they're all like me. So it was like it was awesome. You know, it was really cool.
Well, are you saying that people that are like you are awesome?
Well, it was like I fit in.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
you know
like
what I mean?
Your blood. Your blood.
I didn't mean it like that, but
they had the same DNA as you.
You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, you know, yeah, you got the same thing going on. Like you get each other.
Well, and we can't end up.
Life makes sense when you're around people that are like you. I guess you could say.
Yeah, it was very inspirational. We'll talk more about.
It's refreshing.
The Clean Break episodes are coming out on June 13th. And Kelvin Lam, thanks for being here, my brother.
Thank you.
We grabbed you yesterday on the beach. We just bumped into each other.
I just want to say something really positive. Remember, people out there, if today you need to change your life and you need to do something, just know that we've been flying through the universe on a ball and we're traveling around the sun. And your past, that's way behind you because we've traveled through space. That's millions and millions of miles behind you. So today, you are not what you are. If you don't want to be the person you are and you want to change your life, you're not that person. Right now, you get a fresh start.
Holy cow, that's one of the coolest things I've ever. So the past is not just back in time yesterday. It's millions of miles away because we travel through space.
Yeah.
The universe is expanding. We're spinning around the sun. And the past is like way the heck back there.
Yeah. And if you want to make a change to better your life, when would be the best time to start?
Now. Right now.
Right now.
Sounds good. Let's all go get a drink.
Let's go surf. Let's go surfing.
Surf's up. Woo! Aloha. Aloha. Aloha, Kelvin.
Eye of the tiger.